The announcement for the Lombrum Naval Base upgrade came about during the APEC summit. Announcement was made by both the Vice President for US and separately by Australian Prime Minister. Differently, but all towards the upgrading of the Lombrum Naval Base. So during the APEC Leaders Summit, like I said, the Vice President for US and the Prime Minister for Australia separately announced the joint commitment by US and Australia to have the Lombrum Base upgrade at a cost to those two countries. Big statements. Given that the announcements for the proposed upgrade were made by leaders of those countries at a multilateral forum like the APEC Leaders Summit, it must be assumed that the commitment is real and significant. The Manus Provincial Governor, Honorable Charlie Benjamin, in his first reported statement on the matter, said no to the proposal. He had his reasons. The position still stands. At least the MPC is of that view. Lessons from Manus Province recent past point to the need for the province to scope out its position and that its people with respect to the scale of the impact of such an undertaking. And I think if we Manus people can look at the statement, and we don't have to go too far to realize that, yes, we need to take stock of that announcement and the forum that it was held in. And like I said, the undertaking is real and substantial. Exposure for Manus. This has everything to do with the extent and magnitude of risks that the Lombrum Naval Base upgrade and subsequent usage by the US and Australia. This exposure and the risk is very little to the rest of Papua New Guinea, if at all. And of course, any responsible provincial government would not take it lightly, and Manus Provincial Government didn't take it lightly. The Manus Provincial Government recognized and acknowledged that there would be varying degrees of risks, exposure and impact for different categories of communities and people of Manus. And we've gone through that before in another exercise, so I'm sure you will readily agree to that statement. Manus, yung planti school save man may restart. The country knows that. On the 7th of December 2018, the provincial government went ahead and approved and passed the Manus Position Committee. That's the name of the committee that's now dealing with the upgrade of the Lombrum Naval Base, to assist in pursuing the Manus interest in this project. The Manus Position Committee has 12 members, including the provincial administrator. Representation comes from high impact area, Manusians from government, business, plus intellectuals from across other sectors. Like I mentioned before, on the 7th of March, the PEC mandated the committee to represent the Manus Provincial Government and act in accordance with the PEC sanctioned terms of reference. So there is a set of terms of reference that the Manus Position Committee works within. The MPC, and I will be referring to the committee as MPC, so I hope you can relate to that now. MPC is tasked to work within an overarching strategy to achieve the Manus interests or Manus objectives. The statements made and what's involved comes with a lot of risks. As mentioned earlier, the rest of PNG will not be exposed. Manus is probably the only place that will be exposed directly with the Lombrum Naval Base upgrade. That is significant. It is significant in the sense that everything to do with the extent and magnitude of risk that Lombrum Naval Base upgrade and subsequent usage by the two countries would expose Manus and not the rest of PNG. Obviously, the Manus Provincial Government maybe in a timely way put the Manus Position Committee together. I'm not saying that because I'm in it. It's a lot of work. But as a person involved in the committee, it is time consuming. But we've had to do a lot of research. We have not had too much feed-in terms of information, apart from the major announcements. It might be fair to say we're groping in the dark at the moment. We're hoping there will be some light being shed in due course and in the not too far distance. The committee has had to work with some foresight in its own initiative. We had to think of ways of moving forward. A lot, like I said, a lot of research has been done. We've had to, and thanks to one or two of our members who are very active, they've taken the time to do very lengthy researches to come up with some strategic suggestions. And we've set ourselves on a path that we think is beneficial for the moment, given that there isn't much information, if at all, given to us. We've tried to come up with different scenarios, and every time we took a scenario, it brought us back to one main scenario, and that is, without much information, we cannot look forward and try to devise strategies, because We are not dealing with a mining project. We're not dealing with a gas project. We're dealing with lives involved directly. And the committee the committee has decided that and has gotten the blessing from PEC and our politicians to take the path where we feel that we need to take that worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario is what's put up there. Okay, and like I said, a lot of research has been done. History speaks to the need for Manus to work with worst case. Events, economic, political, and military have been unfolding, plus projections about the future, world order are aligned with history. Is saying, without specific information regarding the scope of, I've got PAMI here, okay, bear with me. It's a Project American Military Initiative. We're just trying to give a name to something that we're dealing with here. So, without specific information, we feel that we have to dwell on the worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario is if tensions between the West and China, and you don't have to look too far. We have China in the Pacific right now. I'm not an expert in that field, but just generally reading through the newspapers and the media, you can't help but see that China is growing up to be the next superpower, and from indications as of yesterday, I'm told that by 2025, China will be economically the most powerful nation in the world. You can't help but ask the question, okay, we have America here trying to set up upgrade the naval base. If we're going to start talking about deals here, building this, agreeing to this now, and come 2025, if China becomes a superpower, how are we placed in the whole scenario? These are some of the questions that some of us have to be dealing with every time we meet and look at the Lombrum Naval Base upgrade. So for the Manus Position Committee, we feel in line with what the governor's position from the beginning, and that position, like in the beginning I said, the position has not changed. We feel that unless there is more information given to Manus, our lives are at stake if this upgrade goes ahead. You have to come and show some justification, national government, US, America, that what you're building is going to benefit Manus and how it will benefit Manus. Otherwise, our no is there. Okay, this is a slide saying that knowing the scope of the project, what are the specifics? Right now, we don't have any of that. The only option available to Manus and MPC, but supported by history, data, and projections, in order for us to secure ultimately the Manus interest, given that we don't have the full data in front of us, the plans, the scope of Manus interest is limited by not knowing the scope of the project. So we dwell on the worst case scenario. So you ask me, what is the Manus interest? And I will say the Manus interest remains to be settled. Different parts of the Manus interest need to be identified, and Manus will have to be involved in identifying those different parts at a time when everything is put to the relevant authorities for Manus and to Manus. So the extent to each constituent part needs to be developed and agreed to when specifics regarding the scope of the project become known. I leave the presentation there.